Emma, 19, stands in the doorway of her modest bedroom in a quiet Pittsburgh suburb, faded college brochures tacked to the walls, a cluttered desk bearing the weight of scholarship forms and dreams. 4 years, she's held on to a single, unwavering certainty. Her college fund, a $40,000 legacy left by her late mother, is her path forward, her chance at a future her mother fought to secure. Her mom, taken by cancer 5 years ago, had poured her life into that fund. Endless nursing shifts, weary smiles masking exhaustion, her final words to Emma whispered from a hospital bed, "You'll make it, sweetheart, I've made sure of it." That promise carried Emma through high school, late nights waiting tables, straight A's, a vision of studying engineering at Penn State lighting her way. Then came Carol, her stepmother, 42, polished and practiced with her warm smiles and calculated embraces, entering their lives 3 years ago. She married Emma's father, David, a reserved mechanic whose love for his daughter was deep but overshadowed by his aversion to confrontation. Carol's presence reshaped their home. Her rules took root, her preferences dominated, her son Brian became the center of attention. Brian, 24, carries himself with an effortless arrogance, always boasting of grand plans while Emma scrubbed dishes to pad her savings. Carol seized control of the family's finances, insisting David was too burdened to manage them, her meticulous hands overseeing every bank statement, every dollar. Emma felt the shift, the unease, but trusted her father's quiet assurances, "Carol's good for us, Em," and so she held her peace. David is a gentle man, his voice rough from years in the garage, his hands scarred from labor, yet he crumbles under Carol's will. He'd brush off Emma's quiet grievances, Brian's shiny new truck while her coat frayed at the seams, Carol's dismissive comments about college being overrated when honest work pays just fine. Emma attributed it to the strain of a blended family. She'd endured worse, kept her focus on her mother's promise, her escape from the tension that simmered beneath their roof. It's March 2025 now, acceptance letters arrive, Penn State among them, her dream school, tuition looming in 3 months. She retrieves her bank card, drives to First National to confirm her fund. It's about $40,000. Her mother's gift, should be there untouched. She enters her PIN, her mom's birthday, and freezes as the screen displays a balance, $0. Her chest tightens, the air feels thin, her pulse stutters. She tries again, same devastating result, an empty account staring back at her. Dread coils within. This can't be correct, it must be an error, a misunderstanding. She strides into the bank, her voice trembling as she confronts the teller. There should be $40,000 in there. Where did it go? The teller, indifferent, pulls the account history. Transactions drained over months, nothing left. "It's been withdrawn, ma'am," he says. "You'll need to speak with the account holder." Her legs weaken. Carol's name now shares the account, a detail David never mentioned. Her mother's sacrifice, her future. It's gone, and the truth begins to dawn. Carol is responsible. Emma drives home in a haze, her old Toyota rattling, her hands clenched around the steering wheel until her knuckles ache. She finds Carol in the kitchen, calmly slicing vegetables, a picture of domestic ease, humming softly as if the world hasn't just shifted beneath Emma's feet. She places the bank statement on the counter with a quiet thud, her voice steady despite the storm within. "Where's my college fund, Carol?" "Empty, every cent. Gone." Carol pauses, sets the knife aside, dries her hands, turns with a faint, untroubled smile. "Oh, that? I used it for Brian's wedding. A proper celebration, something meaningful. He deserved it, you see." The confession lands like a blow. Emma stands motionless, her throat dry, her mind struggling to grasp the words. "You what?" she manages, disbelief tightening her chest. Carol tilts her head, her tone cool, detached. "Weddings cost money, Emma. Venues, food, his fiancée's gown. Your fund made it possible. Brian's building a life. He needed it more than you did." Emma's world blurs. It's about $40,000. Her mother's tireless labor, poured into a fleeting party for Brian, the favored son who'd never known sacrifice. She forces out, "That was mine. My education, my chance." Carol's expression hardens. "You're young. You'll find another way, loans perhaps." Emma turns to her father. David sits in the living room, nursing a beer, his eyes fixed on the floor. "Dad," she says, voice breaking, "tell me you didn't know. Tell me you didn't let her take it." He shifts uneasily, his words halting. "I didn't agree to it, Em. but Carol thought it was best. "You can still go to college. We'll figure something out." His evasion cuts deeper than Carol's callousness. He knew enough, did nothing, allowed her mother's legacy to slip away. "Figure it out?" She echoes, raw. "That was Mom's money, her promise to me." David flinches, offers no response. His silence a wound she can't unfeel. She retreats to her room, locks the door. Tears fall, fierce and heavy, but beneath them, a spark ignites, determination. Carol's words echo, calm, entitled, paired with David's refusal to fight, stoking a fire she didn't know she had. They expect her to accept it, to swallow this betrayal as she's borne every slight before. Brian's gifts, her overlooked needs. Not this time. She opens her laptop, logs into the bank's portal. Her mother's fund, her lifeline, pilfered by a woman who'd never valued her. She wipes her eyes, steadies her breathing. This theft won't stand, not while she has breath to fight. Emma plunges into the evidence, spends a sleepless night sifting through online bank records, tracing the loss of her mother's gift. The withdrawals began 6 months ago. $5,000. Then $10,000, culminating in a $15,000 transfer 2 weeks prior, timed with Brian's engagement announcement online. She examines the details. Carol's signature authorizes each move, though David's name remains on the account. Emma's not an expert, but she senses the weight of it. Fraud, perhaps forgery, a deliberate breach of trust. She calls the bank at dawn, her tone calm, insistent, seeking clarity. The manager confirms. Carol gained co-signer status a year ago, David's decision, but the transactions bear only Carol's mark, some with digital signatures that clash with David's unsteady hand. Emma's pulse quickens. This isn't mere selfishness, it's illegal. She searches further, discovers Carol's carelessly discarded receipts. $12,000 for a wedding hall, $8,000 for catering, $5,000 for a gown, all drawn from her fund. Brian's wedding flashes in her mind. Elegant suits, flowing drinks, a celebration she unknowingly financed as her own hopes faded. David knocks later, voice tentative. "Let's sort this out. Carol didn't mean to hurt you." She meets his gaze firm. "She stole from me, Dad, from Mom's memory, and you stood by. That's not harmless, that's my life." He retreats, burdened by guilt, useless to her now. She knows he won't challenge Carol. Never has, never will, but she's not powerless. She researches financial fraud lawsuits, finds Reddit threads under family injustice, stories mirroring her own, voices urging action. A name emerges. Sarah Thompson, a Pittsburgh lawyer renowned for righting such wrongs. Emma meets Sarah days later. A modest office, keen eyes, a steady presence. She recounts it all. The fund, Carol's theft, David's inaction, offers every document she's gathered. Sarah listens, nods. "This is fraud, potentially forgery. A solid case if we act quickly. Are you ready to pursue this legally?" Emma pauses. The weight of suing family presses down. But Carol's indifference, Brian's extravagance, her mother's whispered promise flood back. "Yes," she says, resolute. "I need to reclaim it, all of it." Sarah's expression softens. "Then we'll make it right. Justice is yours to take." Emma leaves, heart racing. This is her stand, her mother's honor, her fight begun. Emma sits across from Sarah Thompson in a quiet Pittsburgh law office. A modest space, shelves lined with legal books, the faint hum of a heater in the corner. Sarah, mid-30s, sharp-eyed and resolute, has a reputation for championing victims of family financial disputes. Emma's last hope. She lays it all out. Her mother's $40,000 college fund, a sacred gift from a woman who worked herself to the bone, now stolen by Carol to bankroll Brian's wedding. Sarah examines the evidence. Bank records, forged signatures, wedding receipts. Her expression hardening. "This isn't just a betrayal, Emma. It's a crime, deliberate and calculated. We can hold her accountable." Emma's voice trembles, but her resolve shines through. "I want justice. I want my mother's legacy back." Sarah nods, steady. "Then let's bring her to court. Civil suit, financial fraud, theft of personal assets. Are you prepared for this?" Emma breathes deep. "I'm prepared. I have to be." The legal process begins. Sarah drafts the complaint with precision. Defendant knowingly misappropriated plaintiff's trust funds for unauthorized personal use. Emma signs it, her hand steady. Each line a tribute to her mother's sacrifice, a defiance of Carol's greed. They file at Allegheny County Court, March 2025. A gauntlet thrown down. Carol hears soon enough. She storms into the kitchen that evening, eyes blazing, voice cutting. "You ungrateful child. How dare you drag me to court after everything I've done for this family?" Emma stands tall, unflinching. "You took what wasn't yours, Carol. My mother's savings, my future. I'm not the one who should be ashamed." Carol's face twists. "You'll pay for this. I'll make sure everyone sees you for what you are." David tries next. He finds Emma in the living room, his mechanic's hands wringing a rag. "This lawsuit, it's breaking us apart. Can't we resolve it quietly? Loans, maybe. I'll help you figure it out." His plea cuts deep. She remembers his quiet strength when her mom was alive, now eroded by years of avoidance. "Dad," she says, voice firm, "she stole from me, from Mom's memory, and you let it happen. I can't let this go." He looks away, pained. "Carol's my wife. I don't want to lose her." Emma's heart aches, but she stands firm. "And I don't want to lose myself. I'm doing this with or without you." He retreats, defeated, another bridge strained, but not her burden to mend. Sarah prepares her meticulously, hours reviewing depositions, organizing evidence, bracing for a long fight. She warns, Carol might countersue, claim it was family money. "But your proof is solid, Emma. Those signatures, the timing, it's undeniable." Emma nods. She sees Carol's arrogance in every withdrawal, every lavish wedding bill, thinking Emma would stay silent as always. Not anymore. Late one night, she calls Sarah, voice quiet. "I'm afraid, but I can't stop now." Sarah's reply is calm, certain. "Fear means you're fighting for something real. We'll see this through." Emma lies awake, the weight of her choice pressing down. But it's hers, fueled by her mother's memory, and she won't back down. The lawsuit fractures the family. Cracks widen into chasms, trust shatters. Brian confronts Emma first. He catches her after a shift at the diner, leaning against her car, his tone dripping with false concern. Why are you doing this? Mom used that money for my wedding. It was for me, for my future. Why would tear us apart over it?" Emma's exhausted, apron still tied, but her voice holds steady. "Your future? That was my mother's savings, Brian. Not yours, not Carol's. You don't get to turn this on me." He scoffs. "Family sacrifice. You're just too selfish to see it." She fires back. "Families don't steal. I learned that the hard way." He walks off, shaking his head, but his words linger, a thorn in her side. Carol escalates the war. She spins a narrative for the extended family, her voice trembling with crocodile tears over phone calls. "Emma's suing me, over money. After I've treated her like my own daughter, this is how she repays me." Relatives take sides. Aunt Linda, David's sister, sends a stern email. "This isn't worth the fight, Emma. Money comes and goes, family doesn't." Uncle Mark calls her greedy. Backs Brian, says, "Weddings are milestones, college can wait." The family divides. Some buy Carol's victim act, others stay silent, watching from the sidelines. Emma's phone buzzes with accusations. She's the outcast now, the one stirring trouble, the one who should have let it slide. She sits alone, tears welling, but refuses to bend, whispering, "I'm not wrong, they are." David's caught in the middle. His presence fades, a shadow in the house he once anchored. He tries one morning over coffee, cup untouched, voice pleading, "This is tearing me apart. You against Carol, the family splitting. Can't we find peace somehow?" She meets his eyes, steady despite the ache. "Peace? She took my future, Dad, my mom's last gift, and you stood by. I need you to stand up for me." He falters, "I love you both. I can't pick a side." Her reply is quiet, cutting. "You already have, by doing nothing." He leaves the table, guilt etched in his slumped shoulders, but Emma knows he won't fight, not for her, not against Carol. Carol's campaign grows. She spreads whispers at the local church, the supermarket, painting Emma as a money-hungry rebel. Gossip trickles back. Neighbors murmur at the diner, suing her own stepmom, over a wedding? That's cold. Her manager warns, "Keep this out of work, Emma. Customers don't like it." She nods, swallows the bitterness, but inside, she's furious. Brian fuels the fire, posts wedding photos online, captioned, "Family Matters, some don't understand." She reads Reddit late at night, /Telltale's threads cheering her on, "Fight back, you've got this." And it steadies her. She's alone, but not voiceless. Sarah keeps her grounded, meets her at a quiet cafe, legal files spread out. "They're turning against you, it's predictable, Emma. Stay strong, we're close." Emma grips her coffee. "They think I'm the bad guy, but I won't quit." The Allegheny County Courthouse looms, April 2025, a packed gallery, tension thick as the judge calls the case, Emma versus Carol, fraud and theft. Sarah rises, voice clear, commanding, "Your Honor, my client's college fund, $40,000, a legacy from her late mother, was wrongfully taken by the defendant, Carol, to finance her son's wedding. The evidence is undeniable: forged signatures, bank records, direct payments." She presents it all: Carol's unauthorized withdrawals, David's uninvolved scroll, $40,000 traced to Brian's extravagant day. Whispers ripple. Carol sits rigid, her poised facade cracking. David summoned, shuffles to the stand, eyes downcast. Sarah's tone is measured. "Mr. David, did you approve these transactions?" He hesitates. "No, I didn't know till Emma found out." Carol, manage everything. Carol's lawyer objects. He's conflicted. But the judge waves it off. David's admission lands hard. Emma watches, torn between pity and relief as he admits, "She did it, I didn't stop her." He steps down, a broken figure, truth laid bare, no more hiding. Carol's turn. She takes the stand, composed until Sarah strikes. "You added yourself to the account, then emptied it. This signature isn't David's, explain that." Carol stumbles. I assumed it was for the family, for all of us." Sarah holds up receipts. Venue, caterer, dress, $40,000, all for Brian's wedding. "That's your family?" Carol snaps. "David should have known. He's responsible too." The judge's eyes narrow, her deflection fails, the proof overwhelming. Emma's pulse quickly. Carol's crumbling, exposed at last. The verdict drops, judge's voice firm: "The defendant committed financial fraud, misappropriated the plaintiff's assets, guilty. Carol must repay $40,000, plus court costs." Emma breathed out. Justice. Hard won. Hers again. Carol's face looked brief with anger. Defeat. Brian fumes silently. David stares at the floor. Sarah clasps her hand. "We did it. Your mother's legacy is safe." Emma nods, eyes wet. It's more than money, it's her fight reclaimed. The courtroom falls silent as the judge delivers the final ruling. April 2025, Allegheny County Courthouse, a moment Emma has fought for with every ounce of her being. His voice carries weight, resolute. The defendant, Carol, is guilty of financial fraud and misappropriation of the plaintiff's assets, ordered to repay $40,000, plus accrued interest and legal fees, effective immediately. Emma sits beside Sarah, her breath catching. Relief floods her, a tide washing away months of doubt and despair. "You won, Emma." Emma nods, eyes glistening. Not just victory, but vindication, a promise kept. Carol's composure fractures. She rises from her seat, face pale, lips tight with fury, but there's no escape. The bailiff hands her the paperwork. $43,000 total, interest compounding her debt, a penalty for her greed. She'd gambled on Emma's silence, her father's passivity, and lost everything. The gallery watches. Neighbors, relatives, once swayed by her tales of victimhood, now whispering in hushed judgment. Brian slumps in the back row, his tailored suit